Hey Met fans, Brian here at Mets Mayhem. This video is being recorded on Saturday the 26th, the day after the Mets opened the 4-game series versus the Washington Nationals. I'm going to be honest, I was a little pissed off after the game. No, I was beyond pissed off. We just came off a perfect homestand. We swept the Phillies out of Flushing. We come into Nationals Park on a high. Kodai Senga on the mound, second lowest ERA in the National League among qualified pitchers. Jeff McNeil back, Francisco Alvarez back. Hayden Singer getting sent down, Brett Beatty getting sent down. I made a prior video about who I thought should get sent down. Brett Beatty was not the one who I thought. Should have been Azokar. But it is what it is. We have to move on. Something just fell off about this game. Jake Irvin just had his way with the Mets. And that's nothing new. He's had 4 outings against the Mets going into this game. We tagged him for 6 runs twice. But the other 2 games, he allowed 1 run or less. Well, that's now 3 games of 1 run or less against the Mets. Not to take anything away from him, he pitched really well, but he did get some help from the umpires, from the Mets defense, from the Mets lack of awareness. Let's get into the game. Jake Irvin making his 5th start against the Mets, pitching against leadoff batter Francisco Lindor, and working him with a mix of fastballs, curveballs, and changeups. That's what you get from Irvin, and he got Lindor to line out to Jacob Young in center field for the first out. Now Juan Soto up, and he reaches on an error by first baseman Nathaniel Lowe, a throwing error allowing Soto to get on and reach second base. That brings up Pete Alonso, and Alonso had a great at-bat. He didn't extend the strike zone, he only swung at pitches that were strikes, worked the count full, and then drew a walk. So the Mets have first and second, 1 out, Brandon Nimmo up, and Irvin gets him to hit a ground ball to second base. Luis Garcia Jr. tosses to C.J. Abrams covering second, and that forces out Alonso at second. That puts runners on first and third, 2 outs. Mark Vientos up, and Vientos lines out to Dylan Cruz in right field, and that ends the threat. C.J. Abrams leading off for the Nationals, and after working the count full, Kodai Senga hits him to hit a ground ball to Vientos at third. He fires over to Alonso, and that's the first out. That brings up James Wood, and Wood smokes a hard ground ball to the right side. That puts a runner on first and 1 out, and brings up Nathaniel Lowe. After taking a first pitch strike on the corner, Lowe hits an inside fastball, flies out to center field. Tyrone Taylor makes the play, 2 outs. That brings up Nationals catcher Keibert Ruiz, and then he pops up on the edge of the outfield grass. Francisco Lindor goes back and over, catches it, records the 3rd out, and that ends the inning. Jesse Winker leading off the top of the 2nd inning for the Mets, and Irvin gets him to pop out to 3rd baseman Jose Tena. Francisco Alvarez now up, his first at-bat of the season. He swung at a curveball off the plate and strikes out on a 3-2 pitch. All the talk coming into the season was how Alvarez had revamped his approach at the plate. But from what I saw at this at-bat, it's the exact opposite. It's nothing different than last year. He reached and swung for 3 of the 4 pitches off the plate. He fouled 1 of them back, and he struck out on a pitch that should have been ball 4. Until he can make the same adjustment that Pete Alonso has done and become more disciplined at the plate, we're going to continue to see teams give him nothing good to hit. So that brought up Jeff McNeil, also making his season debut, and he hits a weak fly ball to left. James Wood catches it, and that's the 3rd out. Second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. leading off the bottom of the 2nd inning for the Nationals. He works the count full against Senga before hitting a hard ground ball up the middle for a base hit. That puts the leadoff batter on for Josh Bell, and Senga gets Bell to ground a forkball to McNeil at second, who tosses over to Lindor, who fires over to Alonso to complete the 4-6-3 double play. Runner erased, 2 outs. Dylan Cruz up. He hits a ground ball to the left side for a base hit. So it's 2 outs, runner on. Unfortunately, Brandon Nimmo forgot what he was doing. He threw the ball into 3rd base instead of the cutoff man, and Cruz took advantage of this. He's a very aggressive player. He read it well, and he took second base. So you have a runner on second base, 2 outs. And this mental mistake immediately came back to hurt the Mets, with Jose Tena jumping on the first pitch he saw, lining a single to left field. With 2 outs, Cruz is going on contact. That drives in Cruz. It gives the Nationals an early 1-0 lead. Now Jacob Young is up, and Tana tries to swipe second base on the first pitch, but he was gunned down by Alvarez, and that's the third out of the inning. Nationals put one on the board. Top of the third inning, and Irving gets leadoff batter Tyrone Taylor to line out to center field for the first out. Brings the Mets to the top of the order, Francisco Lindor, and he taps back a curveball to Irvin, who tosses over to low at first. For the second out of the inning, now we have 2 outs, no one on. That brings up Juan Soto. Soto does a good job staying back on a 1-1 changeup, hits a hard line drive to right field for a base hit. So we have a runner on first base, 2 outs. That brings up Pete Alonso. But Alonso chases 3 curveballs off the plate, striking out, and that ends the top of the third inning. Jacob Young, who was left at the plate when Tana got thrown out, attempted to steal second at the bottom of the second inning. Now leading off the bottom of the third, and he lines a single to right field for a leadoff hit. So they have the runner on first base, no one out, bringing up C.J. Abrams. And he goes down and gets a single pitch, and he crushes the ball to the top of the left center field fence. Abrams is lucky he has the speed that he does, because he sat there and watched from home plate initially, thinking the ball was gone, before he decided to finally turn it on and run. So a triple for Abrams, though. He drove into Tana, gave the Nationals a 2-0 lead. So the Nationals have a runner on third base, no one out. That brings up James Wood. Senga gets Wood to check swing, but made contact on a 1-2 forkball. In essence, it acted as almost he was trying to bunt. The ball's right in front of the plate. Alvarez pounced on it, fired to Alonso at first. That recorded the first out. Kept Abrams at third base still. So the Nationals now have runner on third and 1 out. That brought up Nathaniel Lowe. He works the count full, and then Senga blows a 98-mile-an-hour fastball up and away by him. That's the second out of the inning. So 2 outs now. Runner still at third. Senga's facing Ruiz, and he strikes him out on a 1-2 forkball. Third out of the inning. Abrams is stranded. The Nationals add 1, making it a 2-0 game, but Senga prevents it from being much worse. Top of the fourth inning, and this is where things get beyond frustrating. Brandon Nimmo leading off for the Mets, singles on a base hit to left field. So the Mets have a runner on first, no one out. Mark Vientos up. Mark Vientos hits a hard ground ball up the middle. C.J. Abrams kind of half dives for it, doesn't get it, kicks off of his shoulder, kind of goes towards second base. Nimmo's safe at second. Vientos is safe at first. That brings up Jesse Winker. And Winker hits a hard ground ball to first base. But wait, the first base umpire rules that it is caught in the air by Nathaniel Lowe at first base. Mark Vientos, who's running from first to second, turned back. He's watching. He can see the ball clearly. It's trapped by Nathaniel Lowe, but the umpire called it a catch in the air. Lowe throws to second. Nimmo is then called out at second base. The throw goes back to first, and Vientos is called out at first. So the Nationals are given a triple play. This play is non-reviewable. Mendoza came out to argue. The fact that the call is not reviewable is asinine. The fact that the umpires couldn't convene and nobody saw that that ball was trapped. Nobody saw that that ball hit the ground first. It was ridiculous. That was a momentum killer. The Mets are down 2-0. Vientos had got to second base before the throw got there. I think if the umpire had originally called it on the ground initially, Vientos probably would have got forced out at second. The Mets would have runners on first and third, but we absolutely wouldn't have had a triple play. The plays cannot be reviewed. The call cannot be overturned. So, didn't matter. Mendoza made his case. The umpire, let him just let it out, but wasn't going to change anything. So the Mets had first and second, no one out. Winker up. Fake triple play erased all of that, and that takes us to the bottom of the fourth inning. In the bottom of the fourth inning, Senga had a pretty quick 1-2-3 inning. He got second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. to ground out right back to the box. So that's 1 out. Then he got Josh Bell to ground out right back to him as well. So 2 quick outs, right back to Senga. And then he struck out Dylan Cruz, and that ended the bottom of the fourth inning. Francisco Alvarez leading off the top of the fifth inning. Got a pitch in the heart of the plate, hit a hard ground ball up the middle for a leadoff single. His first hit since returning to the Mets. Jake Irvin then got ahead of Jeff McNeil 0-2 before getting him to fly out weakly to right field on an inside fastball for the first out. Tyrone Taylor then flew out to cruise in right field as well on a 1-2 sinker. So after the Mets get the leadoff batter on, they get two quick outs. That brings up Francisco Lindor. And Lindor didn't seem very comfortable this at bat. Irvin threw him nothing but curves and changeups and got him to swing over a curveball down and in to strike out, and that ends the top of the fifth inning. So bottom of the fifth inning, Senga's still on the mound and he's starting to cruise. He gets Jose Tena to ground out to Mark Vientos at third base for the first out. Jacob Young, the center fielder, then grounds out as well to Mark Vientos at third base. Two quick outs. And then C.J. Abrams, who just came off of hitting a triple in his prior at bat, flies out to Brandon Nimmo in left field for the third out. So for Senga, 3 up, 3 down. After 5, it's Nationals 2, Mets 0 still. Jake Irvin pitching with a 2-0 lead, working against Juan Soto. And Soto tries to lay down a bunt on a 1-0 count and gets thrown out by catcher Keibert Ruiz. I really don't know what it was that I was looking at. It feels as Juan Soto has no confidence right now. He's trying to force the issue. But he got on the prior two at-bats. He got on the first at-bat by an error from Lowe. He got a base hit his second at-bat. So I'm really not sure what was going through his mind right here. It almost feels like he's trying to copy Lindor. I will say this, though. I would rather not ever see Juan Soto try to bunt again. Ever. So easy first out for the Nationals. Brings up Pete Alonso. And he grounds out to Tana at third base, who fires over to Lowe. Second out. Brandon Nimmo now up. No one on. He jumps on the first pitch he sees. He hits it hard. But he lines out to Dylan Cruz in right field. And that retires the side. Kodai Senga still on the mound for the Mets, and he gets ahead of James Wood 0-2 before striking him out on a forkball for the first out. Nathaniel Lowe up next, and he works the count to 2-2, and then he hits a ground ball between first and second. McNeil ranges over to his left. He does a little sliding stop, and then fires to Alonso, and that gets the second out. Keibert Ruiz up next, 2 outs, no one on. He works the count to 3-1. Senga bounces a sinker for ball 4. So the Nationals now have a runner on first base and 2 outs. That brings up Luis Garcia Jr. And he does a good job laying off the forkball in this at-bat. He works the count full. He ends up walking on the 9th pitch of the at-bat. That puts runners on first and second, 2 outs. Brings up Josh Bell. The always deadly Josh Bell. But Senga strikes him out on a 3-2 sweeper at the bottom of the zone, and that ends the top of the 6th inning. Irvin's still on the mound, the top of the 7th inning, and he strikes out leadoff batter Mark Vientos on a 1-2 curveball, down and away for the first out. The Mets really seem to be having a hard time hitting this curveball in this game. He brings up Jesse Winker, and he works the count full, but he pulls an outer half for the zone fastball on the ground to second base. Garcia tosses it over to Irvin covering first, and that's the second out. Now Francisco Alvarez up, 2 outs, and he flies out on an 0-1 curveball, right to Wood and left. 3 up, 3 down for the Mets. Irving is coasting. Mets go to their bullpen and bring on Huascar Brazoban in relief of Kodai Senga. The first batter he faces is Dylan Cruz. And he's busting Dylan Cruz inside, gets ahead of him 0-2, but then Cruz singles on a line drive to right field for a base hit. That brings up Jose Tena, and he takes a fastball down and away and grounds a single to the left side. The Nationals now have runners on first and second, no one out, threatening, and they have Jacob Young up. And Jacob Young drops a first pitch sacrifice bunt down. Brazoban fields it, tosses over to McNeil covering first base, and that gets the first out. So now both runners move up. The Nationals have runners on second and third, 1 out. That brings up C.J. Abrams, and Abrams hits kind of a slow chopper to the left side of the pitcher's mound, kind of going towards second base. Brazoban goes over to field it. He sticks his glove out, but he doesn't get down low enough. The ball doesn't also come up. It goes underneath his glove. Abrams is safe at first. Cruz scores. Tana moves to third base. So now it's 3-0 Nationals. Runners on the corner, 1 out. James Wood at the plate, and he strikes out on a 1-2 changeup. Abrams was stealing on the pitch, so he steals second base. So the Nationals now have runners on second and third, 2 outs. That brings up Nathaniel Lowe. He works to count full against Brazoban and then smokes 103 mile an hour off the bat, right up the middle. It looks like it's going into center field, driving in 2 more runs, putting the Mets in a 5-0 hole. But somehow Brazoban stuck his glove out, snagged it. That ended the inning. So the Nationals add 1. Could have been worse. So now we go into the top of the 8th inning. Mets down 3-0. We need to start to get the bats going. Jake Irvin still on for the Nationals in the top of the 8th inning, pitching to Jeff McNeil, leading off for the Mets. After taking a first pitch curveball for a strike, McNeil pulls a 90 mile an hour fastball, line driving to right field for a leadoff hit, McNeil's first hit of the season. Irvin then gets Tyrone Taylor to hit a sinker at the top of the zone, grounds it to Tana at third base, who fires over to Luis Garcia Jr. covering second, and that forces McNeil out at second for the first out. So the Nationals then go to their bullpen. They bring on Jose Ferrer in relief of Jake Irvin, who pitched a great game for the Nats. I was thrilled to see him go. I'm sure the Mets were thrilled to see him go. Now we have Francisco Lindor, first batter up, facing Ferrer, and he chases an 0-1 down and away off the plate changeup. Would have been a ball, pops it up to second base. Now it's 2 outs. So the Mets have 2 outs, runner at first, Juan Soto up. He falls behind 1 and 2. Then he hits a line drive to center field for a base hit. So the Mets have first and second. Pete Alonso up. Alonso can tie this game up with 1 swing. All the Met fans, I'm sure, were thinking about this. I'm sure it's on Alonso's mind. But the important thing is he stayed within himself. He stayed within the zone. He only got 1 strike the entire at bat. The first pitch. He ends up drawing a 3-1 walk to load the bases. Brandon Nimmo's up. And Brandon Nimmo had a mental error early in the game that led to the Nationals' first run. So he falls behind 1 and 2. He works the count even. Then he hits a hard, kind of sinking line drive. Doesn't get out of the infield, but over pitcher's mound, over second base. Luis Garcia dove on the left side of second base. Kept it in the infield. So only 1 run was able to score. Everyone else was safe. Base hit for Brandon Nimmo. But that was a big defensive play there for the Nationals. Had that gone into center field, a second run would have scored. So we have bases loaded. Again, 2 outs. And they bring on Kyle Finnegan in place of Jose Ferrer. And Finnegan's first batter that he's facing is Mark Vientos. So bases loaded, 2 outs. Nationals are up 3-1. Vientos falls behind, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Then he hits a slicing fly ball down the right field line. Dylan Cruz is playing deep. He's coming in. He's charging. He's diving. He misses it. The ball bounces past him. Mets catch a break. The ball doesn't bounce into the stands. Vientos gets to third base. Bases clearing triple for Vientos. 3 RBIs. The Mets now have a 4-3 lead. Finnegan then gets Jesse Winker to ground out to second to end the top of the 8th inning. But the damage has been done. The Mets have come back. They now lead 4-3. And we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. So bottom of the 8th inning. Reed Garrett now on the mound for the Mets. He's facing Keibert Ruiz, leading off for the Nationals, and he gets him to ground an 0-1 splitter right to Alonso at first base. Quick and easy first out. That brings up Luis Garcia Jr. for the Nationals. He gets ahead in the count 2-1. Then he lines a 2-1 cutter into the right center field gap. Tyrone Taylor comes over. He cuts the ball off before he gets to the gap. Spins as Garcia is going to second base. He fires to second base. The ball is into Lindor. He makes the catch. Slaps the tag on Garcia. Second out of the inning. Big time play by Taylor there. Now that brings up Josh Bell, and Garrett blows him away for 98 mile an hour fastball, belt high, and that ends the 8th inning. Former Met Jorge Lopez on the mound for the Nationals, and he gets the Mets out 3 up, 3 down in the top of the 9th inning. Got Francisco Alvarez to ground out to Jose Tana at third base. Jeff McNeil to ground out to Garcia at second, and Tyrone Taylor to pull one on the ground to Tana as well. We go to the bottom of the 9th. The Mets are 3 outs away from a comeback victory. Ryan Stanek on the mound to close things out. Edwin Diaz appears to be unavailable for this game. And the first batter Stanek faces is Dylan Cruz, and he works the count full before hitting a fly ball to deep right field. Juan Soto goes back, gets to the wall, he jumps and No, he doesn't catch it. The ball hits his glove. He isn't able to hold on to it. Cruz is busting out of the box from the beginning, and he ends up on third base. Cruz at third with a triple, no one out for the Nationals. Jose Tena at the plate. The Mets bring the infield in, and Tena hits a hard ground ball up the middle, past a diving McNeil. That ties the game. Nationals now have the winning run at first base, still no one out. Jacob Young at the plate. Stanton gets ahead of him 1-2. Gets him to hit a ground ball to McNeil, who tosses to Lindor covering second. That forces Tena at second for the first out. Now we have Young at first base, one out, tie game. The Mets go to their bullpen. They bring on A.J. Minter to face the lefty, C.J. Abrams, lefty on lefty. He gets Abrams to ground the 2-1 cutter to Vientos at third base, going towards the third base line. Vientos makes the throw to Lindor covering second, forces out Young. Great play by Vientos. He didn't really get to set his feet, but he showed off his strong arm here. 2 outs, game tied. He got the lead runner, so we don't have a runner in scoring position. And now we have James Wood at the plate. Wood hits a ground ball up the middle, right side of second base. McNeil ranges over to his right. He reaches down. He's unable to come up with the ball. He deflects it a little bit, slows it down, and goes into center field. With 1 out and runner on first base, Taylor's playing deep, playing no doubles defense. So he's charging in. He fields the ball. He fires home. It's a good throw, but Abrams gets there just ahead of the tag. The Mets challenge the call because why not at this point? But replays show, and the call was upheld. Abrams beat the throw and the tag. Incredible hustle by Abrams. We'll get more into that play in a minute. The Mets lose 4-3 to the Nationals. The winning streak is snapped. An emotionally draining loss, but we'll get into it in the takeaways. So some takeaways from this game. Kodai Senga went 6 innings. He allowed 2 runs on 6 hits. He walked 2 and struck out 5. But what stood out for me is he didn't go to his forkball very much in the early portion of this game. He relied on a cutter a great deal, and the Nationals would make a lot of contact off of him in the first 3 innings. They scored their 2 runs in that stretch. After that, he went more to his 4-seam and fork. He kept the Nationals scoreless for the final 3 innings. The bullpen was touched up a little bit. It happens. We can't expect them to be lights out every single game. It just stings after the Mets were blanked for most of the game, and they came back to take the lead, only to blow in the 9th. And what's going on with Edwin Diaz? He was unavailable. Nothing's been said. Is he all right? There was a key play in the top of the 4th inning. Nimmo and Vientos reached on singles that brought up Jesse Winker. Winker hits a sinking line drive towards first base. Nathan Lowe. The ball hits the ground. He traps it. But the umpire rules it a catch. Horrible call. Replays show Vientos is looking back right at the play. As he sees it hitting the ground, he continues on to second base. Worst case scenario is Lowe turns a 3-6-1 double play. If you look at the replay, the second baseman wasn't going to make it over there in time. It would have to be the first baseman covering. More than likely, Winker beats it out, and it's just a force out of Vientos at second base. You have runners on the corners, 1 out. Best case scenario, the bases are loaded. Because the delay that Lowe had before he threw to second base, Vientos actually beat the throw there. So it's just a horrible call. Resulted in a triple play. Momentum killer. It could have been very easy for the team to lay down at that point. So I give them tons of credit for fighting back. The top of the 8th inning, McNeil and Soto got base hits. There were 2 outs. Alonso came up. He didn't try to force the issue. Tying run at the plate. But he drew a base-loaded walk. That brought up Nimmo. He hit a base hit up the middle, drove in a run. Vientos came up. He put the ball in play. When you do that, good things tend to happen. Ball dropped in. Bases clear and triple. Mets took the lead. This game was looking like one that gets added to the highlight reels for the season so far. But the Nationals snatched that away in the bottom of the 9th inning. Soto was not able to hold on to a fly ball, leading to a triple. Infield playing in. Allows a hard ground ball through the infield for a base hit. Can we at least make an attempt to dive and knock that ball down? Jeff McNeil, talking to you. Didn't Garcia Jr. just do that in the top half of the 9th inning? This game leaves such a bad taste in my mouth because it was due to sloppiness and poor defense. Nimmo allowing Cruz to take an extra base hit in the bottom of the 2nd inning, and he scores on it. Soto not being able to hold on to a fly ball that's in his glove, and then Cruz scores on it. McNeil not diving. Can we talk about why you're not diving, Jeff? Seriously, why are you even in the game? Had this been Brett Beatty in a one-run game, Acuna would be on for defensive purposes. Why was Acuna not in the game now? I mean, why on earth was he not there? If Jeff McNeil cannot dive for a ball and stop it, at the very least, stop the ball, the way his counterpart did in the top half of the ninth inning, if he's not healthy enough to do that, then why is he in the game? It really shouldn't have been that way. Acuna should have been in there. He would have stopped, made that play, got the out. We would have been in extra innings, and then who knows? So the Mets lose this game. They drop to 18-8. The Nationals move to 12-14. We have 3 more games left in this series. Let's win them all and win this series. Next game is Saturday, 4:05 p.m. Clay Holmes on the mound, going against Brad Lord. This is a tough one, Met fans. I'm going to admit it, but it's just one. So I'll be back after that game to recap it, as well as provide any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Met fans, let's go Mets.